everyone, we are back with another Sheglam collection review, and today we're going to be doing the newest collection, which is Catwoman themed. So if you guys are interested in seeing all of the products and my thoughts about them, then definitely keep watching. So this was another one of my videos that unfortunately I did have to refilm, so bear with me you guys as I get through all of this. It's very frustrating whenever you have technical difficulties, but we're doing this one take two. So I did get the full collection this time, and this is what the gift box looks like, and I really like this one. Once again, it's a little more simple, but they definitely did a really cool little feature on here that I think just kind of makes it a little bit more special. So on the side here, there is actually a little switch, and when you turn that on, it lights up, which I think is such a cool thing. I love that they included, like, you know, just a little fun kind of feature on here. The only thing is that I was pondering, I'm like, I wonder how long the lights in this will work before like the little internal battery runs out, and there's like obviously no way to charge it or anything, and all of it is behind this portion of the box, so it's not really like accessible without like tearing up the box. So that was one thing that I kind of was pondering. I'm like, I wonder how long that lasts, and it's such a shame that you can't like recharge it or something. I thought it'd be cool to have this like in the background of the video with the light on the whole time, but I don't want to like run down the battery, if that makes any sense. And this is what the inside of the box looks like with all of the products in here. So we have a blush, a highlighter, 2 lip products, an eyeliner, and a palette. And we also have the sheet mask set. So I have actually already done a sheet mask sundae on this one. So if you want to know more of my thoughts on this product specifically, don't forget to check out my sheet mask sundae. So the one good thing about having to reshoot this video is it did give me a little bit more chance to play with these products a little bit more and kind of give you guys some more thoughts and some more opinions on these products. You can purchase this one from Sheglam or from Shein. Now the prices, since I last checked, might have changed slightly, so bear with me if there is any discrepancy with those. However, the price that I paid for the full set from Shein was $51.34. Now the last time I checked the prices, if you get the full collection from Shein, it is $63.98, or if you get it from Sheglam, it was $49.99. So it's actually a little bit less expensive to get the entire collection from Sheglam. However, some of the items are actually a little bit more expensive individually from Sheglam, so it just kind of depends on what items you're wanting and decide from there on where you're going to purchase from. So starting off, we have the first product, which is the blush. They call this the Black Cat Color Changing Blush. If you get this one from Shein, it is $6.39, and if you get it from Sheglam, it is $6.99. Now Sheglam has done a lot of these like color changing blushes before in the past, but I really thought this one was really unique with the cat eye design on it. Unfortunately, it's a little bit harder to see in mine now that I've used it a few times, but when it was brand new, it looked super, super cool. And the other thing that I liked about it is that the cat eye design is actually in like the bottom layers of the pan. So like as you work your way down, the cat eye actually stays there, which I think is really cool. The only thing is it gets a little cloudy from the color changing part of the blush, but that's kind of to be expected, to be honest. So one thing I noticed with this one whenever I was applying it, has a very thin, kind of like a balmy, slightly tacky kind of texture to it, which typically is not my favorite formula of blush. I prefer things that are a little bit more creamy and things that will kind of like set down, but this one is definitely one that I feel color-wise, it didn't really give as much color as I would have expected. So if I do like a little swatch here, let me kind of get some of this product and we'll do a live swatch here. It does give you a little bit of like a pinky kind of color. I do have to say it's kind of similar to a lot of the Sheglam products I've tried in the past. I actually have the one from the Bubble Bath Dreams collection. This one was also a very similar kind of product. Let me kind of do a side-by-side swatch of these two. All right, so this one is the Bubble Bath Dreams and this one is the Catwoman one. I actually think the Bubble Bath Dream ones gives you a lot more color to that. Like you can see that is so much brighter than that one. Let me see if I can kind of like build this one up a little to see if we can kind of get a comparable color. But I do have to say the texture between the two of them are pretty similar. They do kind of have almost like a glossy, like like Vaseline kind of feeling. All right, so this one is built up just a little bit. That is like 2 or 3 layers of it, and it still is not comparing to the intensity of this one with one swipe. So I do have to say, color-wise, it's not the strongest compared to the Bubble Bath Dreams one. It did show up on me, and I can definitely see that I have it on, but it is just a very subtle color on my skin tone. So I would imagine it would be pretty subtle on deeper and medium skin tones as well. And overall, it's just one of those textures that I just do not love on my skin, because it does leave that little bit of like a sticky tackiness to it. And if you are going to be like applying any powders or anything, you know, it just is not my favorite, because it also kind of like broke down like my foundation just a little bit as well. So overall, in concept and like design of it, I thought it was really, really good for like the collection theme. I thought the cat eye was so cool and so unique, and I haven't like seen any other ones like that before. And especially since they have done the color changing blushes before, I thought it was really neat that they did something a little bit different. So I think they did the color changing like in the Wonka collection and the Crimson Butterfly, in the Bubble Bath Dreams, now Catwoman, and that's just to name a few. I might be missing some, but those are the ones that are standing out to me. But I do have to say, this one is probably like one of my least favorite product wise, as far as like all the color changing blushes go. It is still really neat though, and especially for the price, I think like if you just want it for the novelty of it, I definitely think that you would probably really enjoy it if you are a big Catwoman fan. However, if you're wanting it like strictly for the product, this is one that I unfortunately do not love that much. So moving on to the next product, we actually have a highlighter ring. This one is called the Jewel Thief Highlighter Ring, and if you get this one from Shein, it is $3.49, and if you get it from Sheglam, it is $3.99. So the first thing I definitely noticed on this one is it is kind of cute. However, you are just getting such a small amount of product in here, and it does kind of remind me a little bit of like kiddish makeup, honestly, but it is an actually really pretty highlighter. So I do like this one because it's kind of like that goldy champagne-y kind of color. The only problem that I had with it is that with using the blush like I did, kind of like made the powder stick and kind of look a little patchy in certain areas. So for me, that is definitely a problem with like the blush and not necessarily the highlighter. Do have to say, I mean, the amount of product is about the size of like, I would say maybe even slightly smaller than like a standard eyeshadow pan. So even smaller than that. So you just kind of have to like consider whether you care about the amount of the product versus the actual packaging and the theming of it. Because I do have to say, they do have a lot of really good highlighters from Sheglam, and honestly, just the amount that you're getting in here is so little when you can get like a full-size highlighter for maybe like $1 or $2 more. But I do actually like the product itself. I think it's very on par with a lot of Sheglam's powder highlighters, and I think it's a very pretty color, and I think it would work for a lot of people as well. But you're just getting such a small amount of product. I don't really know if that is necessarily worth it, in my opinion. So moving on to the next product, we have the eyeshadow palette. We are once again back to that same familiar kind of tin packaging that they've been doing for the last few collections. So this one is called the Feline Fatale palette, and if you get this one from Shein, this one is $8.19, and if you get it from Sheglam, it is $7.99. So it's actually a little bit cheaper to get it from Sheglam. It's not always the case, but it is for this one. So when I open up the palette here, I do have to say I really like this color story right away. I feel like it looks very cohesive. I think all the colors are stand out from each other. Like there's no two colors that I think like kind of feel a little too similar to warrant being in the same palette. And you do have a total of 8 shadows in here. There are actually 3 shimmer colors, and there are 4 mattes, which means this black one here is actually a black cream shadow, which I didn't realize the first time I was using the palette until I got to it. I was gonna like use it to like darken up my crease, and then I realized it was a cream shadow. So here's like my reaction to that. So this time, whenever I did my reshoot on it, I actually used the black eyeshadow as a little bit of like a base to start the look. So my look is a little bit similar to like the first look that I created as well. but it is just a little bit deeper with like that black color thrown in there, which I think is very, very cool. So I like that they did something a little bit different, and I bet you could probably use this as like a eyeliner too if you were to use like a very fine brush. So I have not used it as that yet, but definitely something I would probably play around with in the future. So really quickly to go through the color names, I wish they would put them on the packaging, but they don't. So the first color we have here, the silvery shimmer, that one's called Stealth Mode. Then we have a matte gray called Undercover. Then we have a kind of like a peachy tan, this one's called Soft Claws. And then we have a pinky blue kind of reflex color, this one is called Cat Reflex. Then moving down here we have like a lavender gray, this one is called Silent Step. Next up we have a maroon shimmer, this one is called Power Move. Next to that we have a matte maroon, and this one is called Night Watch. And then finally that black cream is called Shadow Strike. So as always, I really do like a lot of Sheglam's eyeshadow palettes, and I feel like they are pretty decent quality for the price you're paying for them. So I definitely think this one falls in line with that, and I really enjoy it. Like I said, the color story of it, I feel like the colors are very, very pretty, and I love how cohesive this palette looks. I know that I kind of mentioned how they've been doing this packaging a lot, the little tin packaging, but it also is very convenient because it's a nice like travelable type of palette. So it does have its pros and its cons. I do think I wish it had a mirror though, but I think I could probably DIY one pretty easily and throw a little mirror in there. So for me, I definitely enjoy the eyeshadow palette. They typically tend to be my favorite items from the collection, and this one was definitely a yes for me. Next up, we have the liquid eyeliner for this collection. I feel like that was just the perfect thing to include in this collection. I mean, come on, it's Catwoman. And this one they call the Meow eyeliner. If you get this one from Shein, it is $3.69, and if you get it from Sheglam, it is $4.99. Pretty affordable for a liquid liner. And the cool thing about this one, it is actually a super, super fine liquid liner. Like the tip of it is very, very small, and this one is actually really great for doing like really detailed eyeliner, and it has a slight little curve to it, which I think initially I wouldn't have thought I would have enjoyed, but when I actually used this to do like my wing liner, I was actually very surprised at how easy it was for me to create this wing. Now I do have to say I have been doing winged eyeliner for like a long time, almost like what, 15 years at this point, so I am pretty like used to doing it. But I do have to say, if you struggle with winged liner, definitely consider trying this one, because I just could not believe at how easy it was to create the little flick, and I thought it worked so, so well. Also, I think that if you are someone who likes to do the like little inner corner kind of wing, I think that's so pretty, but for some reason, like with my eyes, my eye shape, and like my watery eyes, those just never work for me. I cannot do that, so it just unfortunately doesn't work out for me, even though I think it's so pretty whenever I see people do it. But I think that this eyeliner would be perfect for doing those inner corner wings too, because it is so insanely small and precise. I will say, however, on the flip side of that, since the brush is so small, it did take me a little bit more time to kind of do the bulk of my wing, or like the bulk of my eyeliner rather, like on the middle of the lid. So I did have to kind of like go back and forth a couple times just to fill it all in, because you know it's such a small brush. So for me, I think this is definitely a good item to pick up if you like doing winged liner. However, for me, I think I would use it more for just kind of like doing the winged eyeliner, because I think it just did such a good job at that. But overall, I think it's a pretty good one, especially if you like those kind of details. Now, if you don't do wing liner, or if you like to do really thick eyeliner, this is probably not for you, but like I said, for details and stuff like that, this one actually really, really surprised me. And finally, for the lip products, we have two different ones here. These are called the I Am Not a Kitten Peel Off Lip Tint, and we have the color Swift End, and we have the color High Stakes. So if you get these from Shein, these are $4.99 each, and if you get them from Sheglam, they are $5.99 each. So these are kind of cute. I like how they have the little tassels on them, and like I said, these are a peel off lip tint. So in the original video, I did the High Stakes color, so I'll kind of show you like how that one looked on me, and then actually today I am doing the Swift End color. I do think overall they are just slightly different. I think Swift End is just a little bit warmer, and I think that High Stakes was a little bit more cooler or plummier, and this one's just a little bit more of like a warmer red kind of color. Now, I have tried a peel off lip product a long time ago, back in like the K-beauty days when I was really into a lot of those products, and this is a very similar type of product to that. They are basically like a really thick, gloopy kind of product that you paint onto your lips, and you let it set and dry, and you can leave it on for about 10 to 20 minutes, and then you peel it off. So it is an interesting kind of like novelty, unique experience with applying these. I do have to say though, one of the things that I didn't really like, especially the first time I used this product, is whenever I was painting it on, I just kind of had my lips at like a resting position, you know, just like how you would typically put on a lip product. When I was painting on the product and let it set and then I removed it, I noticed that whenever I would smile, the cracks in my lips, like the lines in my lips, were very obvious because the product didn't quite get into those little crevices, and I didn't really like how that looked on me personally. However, I will say now that I've used it another time with this color, I made sure specifically when I was applying the lip product that I stretched my lips out like if I was smiling and applied the lip product that way, so that all of the product would get into those like little lines and creases whenever I rested my mouth, and that actually did help with making those lines not as noticeable the second time. But I will say that just like the last time, you will definitely see that the colors will cling to any dry patches on your lips and make them much more noticeable, especially since these are a bit of a darker color for me personally, for my skin tone. It just really is obvious, the little dry patches that I have on kind of like more towards the inner section of my lip. So that is another thing that I don't really like about these products. And I just have to say, I don't really enjoy either of the color tones for me. I think they're more suited for either like medium to deep skin tones, or if you just like that really dark kind of contrasty look on your lips. So just as like a personal kind of opinion for me, I do not like these, but I feel like a lot of other people would really enjoy these color tones. They're just kind of not my vibe. I might try to play around and see if I can just do this as like a lip liner and see if I like it that way. But as far as just using these like all over on my lips, I just don't think it's something that I personally would enjoy. I will say, however, they do have a really nice kind of like peachy kind of smell, which I think is like really, really yummy. It kind of smells like a peach candy or like a peach ring. And another thing I would say to keep in mind if you do buy this product, this is one thing that you're going to want to use up relatively soon, just because the nature of the product does dry out very easily with it being a peelable lip formula. So if this is something that you think like, oh, I really want to get that, but I might just use it like once or twice, I'd probably like steer you away from it, because I just feel like this is a product that if you let it sit in your collection for 6 months or so, it might all dry up and go to waste. So it's kind of like a hit or miss with that, whether you think this is something like you'll really want to use a lot, or if it's just something you want to try out for the novelty of it. So just something to consider. But for me personally, these are definitely products that I would have passed on knowing what I know now. I just don't like the color, and honestly I do like the staining effect, because it is kind of nice to like have the color without having the mess of like a lipstick or a lip gloss. But overall, I just didn't really enjoy this color that much, and it just really depends on whether you like stains or not. Alright, so as far as like my roundup, what do I say yes to? What do I say no to? For me, this one's pretty easy. My two yeses gotta go to the palette and the eyeliner for the reasons that I stated. These are the only two items that, knowing what I know now, I would have repurchased these. My two take it or leave it's are gonna go to the blush and the highlighter. Like I said, the highlighter's just so small, and the blush, it's cool and it's novelty, but I didn't really care for the function of the product. So those are my take it or leave it's. And my definite no's for me are the lip products. And if you guys did not check out my sheet mask Sunday, I will give you a quick little idea of what I thought of those. They are very cute and on theme because they are just like the eye patch mask. They don't do like the full face. So for the theme, I think it fits great. But for me personally, like if I'm doing a sheet mask, I like hydration all over. I have very dry skin. So just an eye patch for me is not my favorite, but they will definitely get used. However, they're not something that I would ever repurchase. And I forgot to mention the price of those. So it is a pack of 10. If you get it from Shein, it is $5.99. And if you get it from Sheglam, it is $6.99. Alright guys, so that is it for all of my thoughts on the Sheglam Catwoman collection. They have definitely been coming out with a lot of collections lately, so it has been a little bit hard to keep up. And yeah, we will just have to see what is coming next. I do have to say, I never have any idea of whenever like a Sheglam collection's coming. When they drop it, like it's there, it's ready to purchase. And I feel like I'm always like so surprised at the decisions that they make, just because I can never quite, you know, figure out what's coming next. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on social media. Links are below. And until my next video, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.